We've got a very, very exciting period right now. What do you think is going to happen when there's only 1.8 million Bitcoin on exchanges? What do you think is going to happen when retail realizes that we should be buying this too and not through the ETF? What do you think is going to happen when miners say, hey, we should probably stop selling some of this Bitcoin because it's probably going to be worth more on the balance sheet? What do you think is going to happen when corporations come around and say, hey, maybe we should put 1, 2, 3, 4% of the balance sheet into Bitcoin? What do you think is going to happen when 10 other sources of demand that might show up? Billionaire sheikhs in the Middle East, what happens when all of these people show up? In addition to BlackRock and Fidelity, in order for them to put 1% of their assets in, assuming the price doesn't move, which it will, they would need to buy 3.2 million Bitcoin just to allocate that 1%. What happens if Fidelity and BlackRock increase their allocation size to 2% over the next few years? The scarcity of this asset is something like we've never seen, and what we basically saw today in the price movement up from 45 to 48,000 is a reflection of what is to come. Because as someone worked out on Twitter, and I really appreciate it, let me see if I can bring up the tweet just to read it to you. But the multiplier effect, it was Nicola Varini. She said, British Hodl, the multiplier is still in place. $2,000 price increase times 21 million coins divided by $403 million of inflows from the ETFs. That's 104 to 1 price increase. So the multiplier is still working. Everyone's talking about, oh, this multiplier is too much, this, that, and the other. You can go put your head up your backside because the market is demonstrating to you that the multiplier is still in effect. $400 million of net inflows into the ETFs yesterday. Price is up $2,000. There is about 104 to 1 price increase, 104 to 1 multiplier. Of course, it's flexible and it's going to change and this, that, and the other. I understand that. But it's 104 to 1. So when your favorite Bitcoin commentator turns around and says, oh, no, the multiplier effect doesn't matter. Oh, the multiplier effect doesn't make any sense. Well, clearly they can't do simple mathematics because as Nicola demonstrated, $2,000 price increase times 21 million coins divided by $403 million equals 104. So the multiplier is continuing to work, no matter what the doom and gloom boomers and whoever else, what the happy hippies, whatever they want to say. At the end of the day, human beings are controlled by two forces when it comes to investing and making money. Force number one is greed. Force number two is fear. It's as simple as that. There is nothing more that drives human beings when it comes to investments. Greed and fear, period. So when you think about it, for example, people understand what happens in the blow-off tops of Bitcoin because they understand FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. People say, oh my God, it's going up. Your taxi driver's talking about it. Your gym trainer's talking about it. The guy at the restaurant's talking about it. Your doctor's talking about it. Everyone's talking about it. And suddenly you say, hey, maybe I should get a little bit of Bitcoin. And suddenly you have that blow-off top that the institutions sell into, or smarter buyers sell into, right? And you could call that dumb money, if you wish. And yeah, there's an element of truth that happens with that. But what retail people miss out on is that a lot of this happens on an institutional level too. And that is where I believe that Bitcoin is going, which is why I need you to subscribe to this channel, because we need to get this message out to more retail investors before the institutional FOMO kicks in. Because when the institutional FOMO kicks in, what happens is you'll see prices that you've never ever seen before, because institutions don't FOMO for 2 weeks. They FOMO for 10 years. And so, we're about to enter a world here with Bitcoin where the amount of demand for Bitcoin that's coming is going to be so terrifying, so infinitely unimaginable, because of what the asset is. Bear in mind, Bitcoin is a institutional asset. It can be used for debt collateral. It can be used, to send payments around the world. It can be used for all these things. And on top of that, it can be used to shore up your profits and to demonstrate to investors that your fund is the one that they should be invested in, right? So the multiplier is working, things are moving, the Bitcoins are chewing up 2,000 Bitcoin a day. We've got a very, very exciting period right now. Just to give you an update on the last few days, the total Bitcoin ETF demand source, right? That's what I like to call it. The ETFs are a demand source for Bitcoin. They hold 661,040 Bitcoin at this point, at the beginning of today. And it started with GBTC alone at just 619,000. This means in just 22 trading sessions, the ETFs have acquired a net 42,040 Bitcoin. In addition to that, I know a lot of people like to talk about it. I don't think it's relevant per se, but the new 9 ETFs now control more Bitcoin than MicroStrategy, which is quite intriguing. And by the way, that 42,040 a day, which is the way I think it should be looked at, which is a whole overall snapshot of the market, not just the new ETFs, they're sucking up 1,910 Bitcoin per trading sessions for the last 22 trading sessions, which means that there are about 252 trading sessions a year. And if this trend holds long term and doesn't increase, doesn't go down, the price doesn't change, right? The ETF demand vertical, right, the source of demand, the ETFs, will have to acquire 481,320 Bitcoin every single year, based on 252 trading sessions. So these ETFs are here now. These ETFs are chewing up more Bitcoin than you can even imagine. And you're starting to see that reflect itself in price. With what happened today, we have erased all of the sell the news event is done. We are now at the price point on a couple days before the trading of the ETF. The sell the news event is done. In 22 trading sessions, $5-6 billion has been rotated. There is no other thing that you can do right now besides feel proud of Bitcoin, because just a year ago, this would have knocked our blocks off. But Bitcoin has managed to survive. Not only survive, recover in 22 trading sessions. So overall, my point is this. Money is starting to flow here, and the capital is starting to be allocated. The question that I have for you is, are you allocated? Because if you're not allocated, you're sitting there wasting time, wasting all the time thinking it's going to go down, it's going to go down, it's going to go down. And guess what Bitcoin's done? It come right back up, which is typically what it does do, right? If you think it's going to go down, it will come back up. The question that you have to ask yourself is, how close are you getting to your 1 Bitcoin at least? If you're not at your 1 Bitcoin yet, what are you doing? How much more evidence do you need? The lucky thing for you is that this weekend, Bitcoin won't be trading. But it gives you the opportunity to trade yourself if you can get to your 1 Bitcoin this weekend. And if you can't, then you should at least be studying about Bitcoin. You should be learning about what it is, how it works, why scarcity is actually important. Send it to your parents, send it to anyone you care about that you actually want to come along with you on the journey if you're already a Bitcoiner. But ultimately, despite all of this demand, despite the price recovering inside of 22 trading sessions, there are always only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.